Hello and welcome to Lesson 1E. I can analyze different ways lines and planes intersect. We're going to start off by looking at the ways two lines can intersect, and this is really a huge review for you guys from Algebra 1, but it's always good to look back and refresh our memories. So the first case with the two ways lines can interact is they can be parallel, and you guys should be very familiar with this concept. Parallel lines, of course, are lines that are in the same plane that never intersect. This means they have the same slope, and we use a symbol, these two vertical bars, to indicate that two lines are parallel. If I've got these two lines over here, let's call this line AB and this line BC, not BC, I can't do B in two diagrams, right guys? Let's call that CD. Then I could write that AB is parallel to CD symbolically, just like that. And that would mean that AB is parallel to CD. Our second instance is that lines can intersect at a single point. So, intersecting lines are lines in the same plane that intersect at one specific point. So, right there. They will, of course, have different slopes. We have two instances of intersecting lines that are special. The first case is, of course, perpendicular lines. P-E-R-P-E-N-D-I-C-U-L-A-R, perpendicular. And their slopes, remember, are always going to be opposite reciprocals. Now this is on your mastery test. Opposite reciprocals. For example, if one line has a slope of 2, the perpendicular slope would be this flipped upside down with a different sign. So we flip it and change the sign to make it the opposite reciprocal. That was supposed to be an upside down T, by the way, for perpendicular. The symbol we use for perpendicular is an upside down T. And it just simply, it's a very good visual representation of these two things intersect at right angles. Our second special case of intersecting lines would be two lines with the exact same equation. Basically, they end up being the same line and occupying the same space. Again, you saw this in algebra. We're not going to see this often in geometry, but it is another case for us. Finally, we can have skew lines. And skew lines are lines that never intersect because they aren't even on the same plane. So for example, if we're looking at this rectangular prism here, I've got one line that's going along the base of my prism and another line that's going on one of the lateral edges of my prism. And as you can see, they're not parallel, they're not running in the same direction, but they're also never going to cross because they're on two entirely different planes. So what I want you all to do now is pause the video, and right here, I want you to draw me examples of each of these kinds of interactions between two lines. So also take a look at this down here and look at this box. I'll give you an example. Let's say I want to write down a pair of intersecting segments that aren't perpendicular. Well, I could say that EC and DC are intersecting segments that are not perpendicular. For my perpendicular segments, we could say that AD is perpendicular to DC. I want you guys to fill in the other two. Now we're going to talk about planes. A line and a plane can intersect in one of three ways. We can have no intersection, in which case that the line is parallel to the plane. We love that word parallel in geometry. Basically meaning that you've got your plane here and your line is just up here somewhere off in space. They will never intersect, never interact. Your second case is them intersecting in a point, which is when I've got a plane and then my line instead goes through my plane and intersects at one point, which is pretty sweet. And then my third case, which is the coolest one, is when a line the line actually lies on the plane, therefore they intersect in a line. So for example, that guy. All right, so what I want you all to do now is draw me a picture of a line and plane intersecting. Then we're going to talk about two planes intersecting. Two planes can interact in two ways. First, you can have no interaction in the case of parallel planes. And again, those are planes that just, they both are here, but they are never ever going to intersect. They're parallel. Then you can have a line in the case of intersecting planes. And this is hard to draw, but super cool. If I've got a plane and then another plane crossing with it, they're going to intersect in a line. The best visual for this that I can think of is take any book and open the book. Each page on either side is meeting at the spine of the book. That spine is the intersection of two separate planes, each of which are a page of the book, and the spine makes a line. So, two planes intersect in a line. My third example then is the case where you have basically two planes that end up being the same plane. They're occupying the same space. They're laying on top of each other. It's like putting two pieces of paper on top of each other. They're occupying the same space. So that is the end of the lesson. Please take a look at the MML assignment, and thank you all very much.